This episode is brought to you by Prime. What if you had one more chance with the one that got away?
Sam.
You came home.
Based on the best-selling novel from Carly Fortune. Every Year After follows childhood friends Sam and Percy as they reunite in the dreamy, nostalgic lakeside town of Barry's Bay.
Love can be hard to find. So if you're lucky enough to find that person, never let go.
A second chance at first love. Every Year After. Streaming June 10th, only on Prime.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
Hey, we're The Warning! And we're on The Hook Rocks with Jay Scott. And we also have a new album out. Go check out Error from The Warning. Woo! Yeah.
Woke up this morning, nothing to do. I ain't got no worries, I ain't got no blues. If you never had it, there's nothing to lose. All in the hurry, I just wanna cruise. I ain't got no money, I ain't got no car. The only thing I really need is my hair and this guitar. Man, don't you understand? I don't want what you got. Better quit while you're ahead. Count me out to loss. I'm living on the streets. I'm living on the streets. I'm loving where I'm living. 'Cause I'm living on the street. Bleeding and bloody ain't a thing to me. I've been knocked around the block, seen things I can't.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's The Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jay Scott. Got a great show for you lined up today. Before we get into that, just gonna get into our little bit of our introduction that we usually do. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a great network of music-related podcasts. Check out some of my friends like Tom and Zeus on the Shout Out Loudcast, Martin Popoff, the rock historian, Mac, and the Ugly American Werewolf in London podcast, as well as Mistress Carrie. Check out all those great podcasts and more. Follow Pantheon Pods on all social media platforms, as well as pantheonpodcast.com. Follow The Hook Rocks wherever you podcast. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you do listen to podcasts, we are available. And don't forget to set your app to automatic download and write us a review if you're so inclined. We've had some wonderful guests over the last month or so. Joe Satriani, Mark Tremonti, Todd Dammit-Kearns. We just had Stephen Piercy. We've had some great new music spotlights with Band Inc., MTR Project, Stone Broken, and Native Sons, as well as some great music commentary as well. So check all that out and more. And we've got a great interview, great discussion lined up for you today. It's a band or a member of a band I've been wanting to interview for a while now, and I finally got the opportunity. They've got a new great album out in 2022 that was just released at the beginning of June, and I'd like to welcome in Brandon from the band Crobot. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, Jay. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Thank you very much for doing this. Like I said, I've been wanting to have you on the show here for a while, and now with the new album that you have out, it's as good as time as any to get you this. The new album, Feel This, released on June 3rd, 2000, or earlier this year. And I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about the band.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we all
have me on the show.
Absolutely. So we always start the same way every time we have a first-time guest, and that's really the essence of the show. Just like every rock song has a hook that sucks you in, every rock fan has a moment whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance that hooked you on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Oh, man. I remember my very first concert that I ever went to. I think I was like 12 or 13 years old. And it was Typo Negative and Lacuna Coil. And I went with one of my uncles took me, and I just got to experience the way he tries to experience the show. And that's like hang out all day and try to, shake the hand of the artist you're going to see, or, really, really just, submerging yourself in the backstage, portion of the show, and just, making it a real, a thing and a ritual, so to speak. So, I saw Lacuna Coil tear it up on stage. Been a fan ever since. And of course, Typo Negative, just such an amazing band, an amazing live band, as well. I watched the monster of Peter Steele rip his bass strings off of his bass to end the night, and drink an entire jug of wine during the show. So it was quite the thing to see as a 12-year-old, but my mind was blown, and I've been hooked on live music ever since. Was that your gateway into rock and roll, or was that your gateway into wanting to be a band, or both? I don't think I was quite in the headspace of, actually, you know what? I'm thinking, actually, at this point in time, I think it was maybe a little later in my years now that I think of it, because I think I was playing guitar. So I would have had to probably have been like 15 years old. So I was probably thinking about playing and connecting those dots for sure. But I think more so, it was my introduction to live music. I started creeping around record stores when I was 4 or 5 years old. The stories go that I could pick out an Ozzy Osbourne record before I could even read. So, I was definitely raised on a heavy diet of the hard rock legends for sure. What was that moment when, you were thinking about it to actually wanting to do it? Was there a show that you saw, an album, a band that came, in front of you that you wanted to do this? There's a lot of good bands coming out of the area in central Pennsylvania when I was growing up. In my teenage years, we had Live, we had Fuel, of course now we have Hailstorm, and also Breaking Benjamin at that time. Breaking Ben was really getting the spotlight, and I saw them as sort of I felt very connected to that band, also because I kind of turned a lot of people onto the band as in their infancy, so I felt this extra connection, especially with Breaking Benjamin. But I think that they were the band to kind of push my mind into actually being in a band and playing in a band. As far as writing goes, as far as songwriting, there's that, I always call it the evolution of the artist, right? You start out being interested in music, then you find your interest in rock, and then you want to be in a band, and then you're playing music with friends or, other musicians. Then there comes a point where you want to write a song, you want to write lyrics that connect with people just like you find that connection. Was there a moment, was there a song for you that in particular that kind of jump-started that? I always kind of tried my hand at writing, and I feel like even at a young age I was writing poetry and things of that sort. So I always kind of had this fascination with lyrics and poems and studying the lyrics of my favorite bands. I remember printing out sheets of lyrics and just studying them. And this is, of course, before the time of like having a phone in your pocket. So all you have was the CD inserts and azlyrics.com or whatever website you're going to for that sort of information. So I just became engulfed in that world. And I think it kind of found me in a way.
You guys have developed a reputation as being a incredible live act. You guys just came to the Chicago area with Sasquatch here, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Or maybe it was last week. The whole time thing since COVID started has been like, it's so hard to like kind of pinpoint when things have happened. But it was recent, very recent. Where does that come from with you guys? Does that come from seeing live bands that you grow up watching and being connected with them on that level to wanting to connect with your audience? How does that dynamic within the band, how did that come to be?
I think it's a little of seeing bands that we love and enjoy, getting up there and putting out every ounce of energy into it. And I think it's also getting out there and seeing bands not do that and feeling that from the audience perspective. And, I say it all the time, but first and foremost, I started out as a fan of music, and I will always end as a fan of music. But I think that kind of keeps our ability of perspective in check, to be able to see things from the audience. And I think we just put on the show that we would want to see. And I think it's just watching bands like The Refused and bands like Foxy Shazam. I remember seeing that band just perform and just be no holds barred when it came to setting the stage on fire. They needed to. So I think seeing that in a live atmosphere, I definitely carried that stuff with me. But I think more so than anything, I think just the serendipitous moments that we've had as a band, where in the crowds of 15 people, there was that one person that has now been with us for say 10 years and has been a part of the team. And you just the philosophy is you never know who is going to be in the audience, no matter how many number of people are out there. And you could gain any fans in any amount of crowd. So we just try to play every show as if it were a laugh.
You got the new album out, Feel This. Prior to that, you had the EP Rat Child, and then before that, Mother Brain. You guys have released a lot of music over the last few years, even during a time where people didn't really know what to do in terms of releasing music and what to do. What was the thought process of Feel This? Was this recorded during the pandemic? Was this ready to go during the pandemic and you decided to hang on to it a little bit longer?
I think we always start the process pretty much immediately after we release an album. We just get back on the horse and start writing again. So, after the release of Mother Brain, I think we were already starting to think about what we wanted to work towards for a mound of material for the next record. But certainly COVID had lent a lot more time spent with these songs and being able to, really see them through and see the journeys and where we could take it differently in some parts of the songs and just kind of, destroy and rebuild and repeat. We certainly had a lot more time for that than we usually would, especially given how much we tour. But I think we recorded July of last year, I want to say. So, we've been sitting on this material for almost a year and have been playing it live, I think maybe just as long, if not longer, because we're certainly not the band to shy away from trying new material live. And that's, to us, that's the ultimate test, being so heavily driven towards the stage and what we do on it. I think, that's the ultimate test for the song. So.
What was that like for you, the difference of going into the studio and maybe having a deadline when something has to be done to having more of a relaxed environment where you could kind of take your time with the music?
It definitely took the pressure off, but at the same time, I think we kind of kept the pressure on because nobody really knew what was happening. We kind of took things on a day-to-day basis, really. I mean, I remember having, I want to say 3 or 4 tours booked that we ended up having to postpone and cancel, that we just sort of booked preemptively in the thought process of, hey, you know, if things start to look better, we want to be ready and prepared. So we were kind of always hovering our foot over the gas pedal, if you will. So that was always in the back of our mind, but I think that kind of led us to continuing the pressure on ourselves to write and you know, maintain a deadline. And that unknown, you know, certainly went into studio as well, because you know, we weren't able to really get together with you know, outside the people in your circle for a pretty long time. So the same could be said about you know, moving studio time. So we kept the heat on, but it was really looking back, it definitely you know, really opened things up for us to just, you know, be able to write more material and have a bigger batch of things to work with. You know, but when it came time to recording this stuff, we still certainly kept the pressure on, and I think we were scheduled in the studio for like 22 days and ended up recording 16 songs in that time period. So it was an intense period of time, actually, the recording process, but the writing process was definitely a little more relaxed, and that was very beneficial.
When you record that many songs, you know, during a session, what do you do with that material that doesn't make the album? Is it something where, you know, you're going to put out maybe another EP with that material, or is that just stuff that wasn't ready to be put out? How do you make those decisions? What goes into that?
Usually we like to record a few extra songs, you know, for some exclusives. And we always have been a fan of deluxe editions of records, and at some point releasing those B-sides, because it's interesting, again, for us as fans of music, we love hearing the songs that didn't make the record. Sometimes those are our favorite songs from our favorite artists. So, you know, we try to do the same and give people what we would want. And, you know, when we have 16 songs at the end of the session, we want to make sure that 16 songs eventually get released.
I look at the albums that have been released this year and last year and during 2020 that were recorded during the pandemic as kind of timestamps for each band, you know, diary entries, if you will, for each band that has gone through this and had their creative process maybe disrupted. When you look at this album, and, you know, obviously it was recorded during a time when people were dealing with kind of everything out there. Did that affect your creative process? How do you view that album versus the other albums that came before it?
It definitely affected things, and, you know, whether consciously or subconsciously, I'm sure what I went through during that period of time, I'm sure found its way into the lyrics somehow. But, you know, on the whole, conceptually, it's not anything that's, you know, geared towards a pandemic or dealing with anything if that's, you know, that we just got done dealing with. But I will say that it made us think in terms of, you know, hey, everybody's at the same point right now. Everybody's, you know, at home, and I'm sure all these bands are writing, and, you know, it's a very depressing time, and we try to be the antithesis of maybe what's current, and you know, we looked at it as a unique opportunity to maybe look on the bright side of things. As hard as it might have been at that period of time, I think we were already looking ahead to you know, songs like Better Times is definitely a song about getting back into the swing of things, of going to see shows, and you know, that's you know, going out into big groups and you know, and in the concert setting. So I think it was definitely a thought process, but in a positive way. And I think that we tried to, you know, hold on to the happiness of the future, and that's more or less what the COVID influence was on the record.
Did you guys find yourself, you know, wanting to go more into that positive side because of everything? I mean, there's that pendulum, right? You know, you're dealing with all these things, you're seeing all these images, and now you're creating. And it's easy to get kind of sucked into that pull of what's happening out in the world and have that affect what your perspective is and how you reflect on things. But was there more of a conscious effort in the band and you writing lyrics to kind of, get away from that?
I tend to like to leave things very open-ended and very vague in the sense that, anybody can kind of form their own understanding and opinion about like what the songs are about. And I definitely tried to do that on this record as well. But I think, conceptually speaking, lyrically, it's, the records tend to find their way in a story arc, and this one was no different. And I think that, COVID lent us a lot of time to reflect and really think about who we are as people and what, our values and morals are and things that are important to us. And some things maybe that we've taken for granted that, when you get the rug pulled out from under you, and you can't have certain things, whether willing or unwillingly, it kind of makes you think about whether or not certain things are important to you and how, your homeostasis is affected by a need for some of these things. Like, for instance, me personally, I love to play music and I love to play music in a live setting, and not having that for as many years as we did. I don't think I've ever gone that long without performing since I started playing guitar in my young teenage years. So it was really interesting to kind of reflect on that. And I think the lyrics kind of, and the story arcs of the songs kind of worked their way into, those roads of like, who am I as a person? What kind of things mean the most to me, and what have I taken for granted, and what does it mean to be a human? What are the elements of strengths and weaknesses in being a human? And, even furthermore, like what would another species, if they were to write the encyclopedia on the human species, what sort of things would be in there? So, conceptually, definitely found me reflecting in COVID times on myself.
When you are going through the trying to find that buzz you get when you play live, trying to find that adrenaline and trying to find something that matches that experience. You may not be able to find it. Maybe you can. What was, how did you compensate without having that? How did the band compensate without having that in their lives for an extended period of time?
Well, I think we try to, tiptoe and balance writing and performing, and half of what we do is writing, half of what we do is performing. So the scale just got a little skewed to one side, and we put all of our energy into writing and recording. And I also had found myself in some unique opportunities with some other things, such as like Charlie from Anthrax giving me the call to do like the Rush songs that we did and things of that nature. So I think just performing things as if it were live, kind of setting yourself up for the challenge of trying to be a one take pony and, almost making a game out of recording to make it like a performance. And it's all performing at the end of the day. It's just that disconnect from a live audience. That's the best drug out there, and not having it was certainly a void to fill. So I think the writing process and being so intense in how we approach the writing process, I think certainly did the best that it could at filling that void, but nothing will quite ever fill the void of performing live.
What's the plans for the band for the rest of the year?
We're just going to be touring the wheels off the van, and with every new record comes a new touring campaign. So we're excited to get out there and start touring again. We're going to be hitting the road and bouncing around the U.S. In the late summer, early fall, and then heading overseas with Airborne and Blues Pills to round the year out from Thanksgiving to Christmas. So it'll be a busy rest of the year.
Because you guys tour a lot when you guys have an album, obviously going over to Europe is great for you guys, expanding your audience. But when you get into that kind of tour mode after an album, are you trying to find markets that you haven't played yet? Is that what you're, at this point in the band, or do you know the markets that you are successful in and you kind of want to stay, kind of inside that?
I think we're always looking for opportunities to be in front of a new audience. We think about that a lot when we're trying to find support slots or going out with other bands. We definitely like to take in consideration trying to get to new places. And to be honest, everything's new, coming out of the gate of dealing with the pandemic. Everything has been on pause. And unfortunately, a lot of places that we have played before didn't make it through the pandemic, unfortunately. So, there almost has to be some new places that we play. But certainly we like to take every opportunity to be in front of a new audience.
Well, Brandon, it's been a blast. I do appreciate you coming on and doing this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, Jay. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, that's Brandon from the band Crobot. Get their new album out. Feel This, out earlier in the month of June. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks. Take care of each other. Stay safe. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
My engines